Alright everyone, all roads leading to tomorrow night's big League Cup semi-final against Aberdeen. The best two teams in Scotland going head to head. We'll be previewing that today. Okay, Asim is back with me. A nice reaction to your debut on the channel last week, Asim. So much so that you've actually ventured inside Celtic Park for today's video. We thought it'd be as well getting you back on. How is it inside Celtic Park?
I seen Reidzo's video outside the ground last night, so I thought I'd go one better and get inside tonight. But no, it was good. I was at the game on Wednesday night. Pretty routine victory. And yeah, like you say, all roads ahead to Hampden tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Should be a good occasion and a really exciting match actually to look forward to.
Nice wee reaction to you making your debut on the channel as well. Plenty of people happy to see you talking about Celtic.
Yeah, you never know how it's going to go. So I was pleased to see most of the comments were pretty complimentary, and I enjoyed just to being on your channel before as well. So it was a good debut. A bit like Billy Carney Engels. It started off well. Let's hope it goes from strength to strength.
Yeah, you might be the most appreciated person via comments. I always think John is, but it was some reaction last week. What about Halloween? Are you a fan? I just realised yesterday that we didn't have any Halloween gags at all. I'm not really the biggest fan of dressing up and all that stuff.
Nah, same. Past that stage. So nah, just a quiet one for me. I was listening to Super Scoreboard earlier, which was good fun.
Spooky.
That was spooky indeed, but I don't know if you had a chance to listen. I would highly recommend.
Okay. Alistair Johnson certainly enjoying Halloween. I don't know if he saw this. He shared an amusing image of his dog, who has now become a bottle of Coke. I don't know if you can see that, but the cap on its head has absolutely done me. I think that's fabulous.
I can see it there zooming in.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We also had Celtic sharing this image of rather old image of Greg Taylor and Luke McCown. I try to work out when they actually kind of met. I don't know if they were both playing in Ayrshire, weren't they, for Killie and Ayr at the same time? So maybe they were. Because it looks suspiciously. Well? Yeah, it looks suspiciously like an old haunt I would visit in Ayr. I mean, I know you can't tell much, but just the style of the photo, I don't know, it's a strange one, but yeah, Greg Taylor, well, they both look very young there.
Yeah. I didn't really. I think they are roughly the 20. I think McCown's 26, isn't he? And I think Greg Taylor's roughly probably the same. So yeah, I did not know that. But it's like you say, probably reminds you of your old nights out in Ayrshire.
It does. My best ever Halloween costume, if you want to call it that. I went with my good pal. We went as Gretna players. Gretna Green. We managed to source a couple of Gretna kits. You know, the ones that were sponsored by Subway back in the day.
Yeah,
and
right.
Always very proud of that one. Do you have any good Halloween ones ever?
Nah, to be honest, I was never big on it, even kind of growing up in that, so I can't really add to that there. But I thought it was good of the Celtic DJ last night at full time straight away. Zombie Nation was on, so I think that was nicely timed. Obviously in light of what was going on up at Aberdeen as well. So
yeah, enjoyable evening on Wednesday. We got the victory. Rangers losing is always nice as well.
Yeah, like there was a lot of talk obviously when the lineup came out. I was a wee bit not concerned. I thought we've got more than enough, but it was interesting. I seen that there was the league team going about again, which seems to be a common theme at the moment. And I was like, surely not, because of the fact that Yang and Palmer were featuring, but it turned out bang on the money. And yeah, I was a wee bit worried. I just think when Kuhn's not playing for us, we lack a bit of creativity, and then obviously both fullback areas were changed. So yeah, I went into it thinking it might be a bit of a bitty performance, but look, end of the day, it wasn't our best, but it's one of those ones where at the end of the season, no one will remember it. It's crucial just to have got the 3 points. And I think if Kyogo had scored one of his early goals, it could have gone on to be, a much more convincing victory and performance. But all in all, you've got some of our key players rested. Injury guys should be back as well. I think it's worked out well for Brendan, hasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was decent enough. The performance wasn't wasn't ideal, but as you say, making those changes I think was an important thing, and we might see the benefits of that this weekend because Aberdeen will have put so much into their win over Rangers, far more than we put in. Was there any major takeaways from the game for you? What did you come away thinking?
Um, so let's start with some of the negatives. Maybe is that Palma for me is I don't want to go on too heavy again. Look, I've seen people say it's an attitude thing last season. I don't actually think it is. I think he's trying his heart out there. Almost looks like he's trying too hard at times. You can see when he lost the ball, he was chasing back, trying to get it. I just don't think he's a fit for the kind of style of football that we want to play. We've spoke about it at length before and in various kind of different conversations. He's not got the pace and the speed of thought that we require in a Brendan team. So I just think obviously he was given another chance last night, almost out of. I don't think it's because Brendan thinks he's going to come good per se. I know that sounds harsh, but I think it's because he thought, okay, we've still got enough to beat Dundee, and it means I can get Dyson, Kuhn, maybe even James is going to be needed at the weekend and give them a rest. Both wingers didn't really do much, and I thought that would be the case. I know Yang had a brilliant game last time in the same fixture last season against Dundee, but that's the problem with Yang is you just don't know what you're going to get game to game. He's not consistent enough. So I think that made our performance first half a bit disjointed in terms of the fluency. But like I said, Kyogo had two really good chances. The second one particularly, I think if that goes in, it's a whole different feel. But that being said, second half, I think as soon as Alistair Johnston came on, just such a big change in the tempo of the game. And as you said earlier, it was fine. We were decent enough. I think second half was a lot better. Dyson came on. And then as soon as you got one, you never really worried. You always felt we were going to come away and take the points. And I think players like Engels grew into the game. I think he suits playing a more deeper position, actually. That was one of my takeaways. I thought Bernardo was looking good again. And as you said, players to come back. So I think we're in a good shape.
Yeah, I generally agree with most of that. Listen, me and John spoke about Palma and a bit on Yang yesterday, so I'm not going to revisit that. I think it's pretty clear how everyone feels about that. I think it's pretty clear how the manager feels about that. But yeah, just glad we got the job done. It was never really in doubt.
No, I was going to say, do you think there's something to take away from the decision to play Trusty in Carter-Vickers? Do you think that's with a view to going forward, and then also the left back? I think that's the two areas where the manager's got a headache and a good one. We've got options now across the back line. You're only certain really of Alistair Johnston's position for Casper Schmeichel, Alistair Johnston, and then could be any of the other three. And then likewise in midfield, I know Luke McCowan's cup tied, but he's got a choice to make now. So I was wondering, what do you think, Trusty and CCV?
I think Trusty and CCV. It's difficult because if it was the midfield, for example, remember there was a big debate, and there's still a debate, but especially about a month ago, it was like Bernardo was playing so well, and we just signed Engels and Hatate, and people were wondering who was going to play, and you could kind of rotate it game to game, and you could make subs after 60 minutes as well, so it was less of an issue. Centre back's different because you want, and your back line in general, although to be honest, the previous manager, Ange, he rotated the fullbacks quite a lot, didn't he? But in terms of the centre-backs, you want that to be solid, and we saw that with Starfelt and Carter-Vickers. It was so beneficial. So you want it to be, you want a partnership, but it seems harsh on someone, because Carter-Vickers, clearly, Carter-Vickers' big thing is fitness and staying fit. When he's fit, he's in the team, because he's the best centre-back we have. He's the best centre-back we've had, well, certainly since Virgil van Dijk a decade ago. You've then got who partners him, and Liam Scales has probably been our best defender so far this season. But you've got Austin Trusty, who I think is really coming onto a game gradually. I don't think he's done anything spectacular. He was really good in Bergamo, but I thought even against Dundee he looked kind of quite confident, more confident than he's looked, and he's playing. You've got the added benefit of if you play Carter-Vickers next to him, you get Trusty on his favoured side. So it's a tricky one, and I just sense that it might be really unfair, but I just sense that maybe Liam Scales might be the one to to make way. It's not as if we're, as I said the other day, it's not as if we're banishing Liam Scales to the reserves and are never going to see him again. He's still going to have a part to play, potentially at left back occasionally. I don't know. Maybe I saw someone saying maybe Liam Scales at left back in Europe, maybe a solution. I think he's more of a centre back now, but those kind of lofted balls targeting Greg Taylor or whoever. But I just think it's personally, and it's really harsh, and I admit that, and I love Liam Scales, but I think I want to see a bit of Trusty and Carter-Vickers to see if they can form that kind of partnership that CCV had with Starfelt.
Yeah, I think the CCV. You're right. He's the one that plays. If everyone's fit, he's our main man. See, Trusty, I thought he looked good on the ball yesterday playing on that left side. I think his passing's actually quite good. He sometimes eliminates a player and just goes straight and he zips it. So I think that's something that's beneficial to having him there. You're right, it's not a case of Scales or whoever it is being dropped, but you mentioned that centre back's a position that managers rarely want to rotate, especially if you've got big games coming up. You want to kind of have that consistency. So I think whoever he plays on the weekend, provided there's no injuries, will also play against Leipzig. And I think then thereafter you might you might see further rotation again for kind of your run of the mill domestic games.
Maybe,
But
yeah.
These are two of our biggest games coming up. One's a semi-final against the most other informed team at the moment, and then you've got a huge game against Leipzig. So he's going to pick who he feels is his best partnership. And Scales for me has been the best defender this season, but I don't think there's no room for sentimentality. I think if Rodgers feels that Trusty and CCV, and I think it could come down to, I don't know. Obviously, it's a completely different game and different team, but obviously that semi-final last year was probably Scales' poorest game in a Celtic shirt. It shouldn't really impact because he was good the other week against Aberdeen, but I wonder if that's in the manager's thoughts as well, because Aberdeen targeted that. They know Scales well, crosses into the box. And obviously, Trusty's really quick. I like how quick Trusty is, and I think you're right. He's grown into a game. He was brilliant in Bergamo, and that's 3 clean sheets in a row now that he's been involved in. And again, against Leipzig, if you're looking for that consistency, they've got some quick players. They've got Lewis Openda up front, so we're going to probably go. I think he's going to go with Trusty in that game, which makes sense that he's going to go with Trusty for a couple now. So I think it will be CCV and Trusty, and I can see the argument for it. It's the one partnership we've not really seen. So and I think, I don't know if I mentioned it to you last week, but it's Rodgers' big money centre half signing, £6 million. Some managers have that kind of thing where, okay, it might not seem on the face of it the fairest decision, but they're going to want to play their guy, and Trusty's his guy.
But as we say, like it's a really good thing to have. We sometimes think as fans we make it seem like a problem, and it's a problem in that Brendan Rodgers has to solve it. But it's a really good problem, because you think back to this time last year, and as I said to John yesterday, we were trying to convince ourselves that Lager Bielka was the answer, and Naropsky, and to be honest, those guys aren't at the level of someone like Liam Scales. And if you have Liam Scales, say Liam Scales is looked at as the third option, and I'm not saying that will happen, but say it does, he's still going to play games, because you're going to have injuries picked up. Who knows what Carter-Vickers is going to be like. History tells us Carter-Vickers will miss occasional matches, and see, having someone like Liam Scales, who strikes me as the kind of guy that wouldn't take much of a kind of warm up to get into things. Like, I feel he'd be able to come in for occasional games and look pretty solid, especially if he's played with both Trusty and Carter-Vickers previously. I think that's a good situation. We've somehow, I don't know quite when it happened, but we've somehow landed on a decent centre back situation.
Yeah, and the other thing is, CCV, you're right. He started last night. If we're expecting him to play Aberdeen and then a third game in a week, having not played for over a month before, it might be a lot to ask. So the manager will be weighing all these things up. He'll be weighing it all up. He might actually do the opposite of what I've just said, and mix it up. Because he feels that we've got 3 trusty guys now in there. Pardon the pun, but he just feels that we've got that. The options, and 100%, it's a good problem to have. This is what we've all been screaming out for the last couple of years, is the headaches in all the different positions. And I think we've got that in a few positions now: centre-back area, left-back area, midfield.
It's really the wings, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if you were the same, but see in the summer when we were all chatting about all the signings and transfers and whether we were happy with the window, it's the one niggling concern I had because we've not really strengthened from last season. Last season it was glaringly our most obvious problem was the wing areas. Granted, we've got Kuhn who's a different player this year, but other than that, it's the same guys that just weren't up to it in terms of depth. And I can see that last night, and I can see it in games where we've not got Kuhn, and you're just like, because Dyson, for all his qualities, there are blatant flaws in his game, and one of them is he's not creative. So if he's not having one of his good games, you are struggling there. So I hope that's something we address in January and make that similar to the other positions where you've got good headaches to have. Because right now I feel like we're doing well in certain areas, but then up front, striker area, and then in the wide areas, we're a wee bit short.
Yeah, certainly a left wing option. I think the right is kind of all right because, Kuhn and Forrest, the difficult we've got at the moment is Forrest is the backup winger to each of Kuhn and Maida. So Forrest kind of comes in whenever they're not there, and if Forrest isn't around, you're then having to look at someone like Palmer Yang, who I don't think are fully trusted by the manager. Alright everyone, just a short mention to grab your attention and say that every single video we put out on Celtic AM is now available as an audio only podcast. That means that you can listen when you're out and about, on a run, on the train on the way to work, or even doing the washing. The Celtic AM podcast has been very popular so far. Here's a very vague graph of the general upwards trend in October. So head on to your chosen podcast app now. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, whatever you use. I use Spotify. See, Celtic AM, as easy as that.
Or if it's level.
Fabulous stuff. Check that out. If you can't be bothered doing that, just scroll down to the description and click one of the links and it'll automatically take you there. Do it now, legends, and enjoy Celtic AM in a whole new way. Okay, we'll move on to tomorrow's semi-final against Aberdeen in a sec. First of all, just a little VAR update. We haven't done this in a while. The SFA have announced the appointment of former English Premier League referee Martin Atkinson as their new VAR manager. He'll start his role in December, so next month. Somehow in November, don't know when that happened. Atkinson will now work with head of refereeing Willie Collum as VAR manager. He replaces John Moss, who left to become head of referees at Football Australia. Leaving for Australia, eh? Right. We've not really touched on VAR this season, Asim. Does that show that it's been used better, or have we just been fortunate so far?
The handball situation is 100 times better. I think we can all agree. Look, it's not perfect. There'll still be inconsistencies, but it's not the level it was last season where you literally game by game did not know. They were making it up, what's a handball and what's not. And I think Willie Collum, his YouTube or his whatever VAR review program, I think that's been useful and helpful in the sense that at least they're talking about it. There's a bit of transparency as to why they're making the decisions, and the bar's obviously been lifted in terms of what now constitutes a handball. So I think in that sense it's worked, but then there's some other absolutely baffling decisions where, the Motherwell one at the weekend, the non-penalty for the push on Dyson. Why was the referee not sent to go and look at that? So it's not perfect, but I think it's improved. This appointment, hopefully that'll add to the improvement. A neutral figure from down south. I think Willie Collum's doing a good job. I like the fact there's a bit of transparency. I like the fact he comes out and fronts up. But it doesn't. The referees and some of the decision makings are still. We're still baffled that. But I think it's an improvement on last year. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, I'd say I certainly don't feel we're talking about VAR as much, but I still feel it's. I don't know. Part of that may be that Celtic have been kind of so clean in most of the games we're playing, and I think there have been decisions. You mentioned the Maida one. There was another one in a recent game that I remember someone saying it'll be interesting to hear what Willie Collum has to say on it. Was it the Aberdeen game? Was there something controversial in the Aberdeen game? I can't totally remember.
Our Aberdeen game.
Yeah.
The goal line clearance, I guess, but I don't know if they came out and discussed that. The Dukes one on the line.
That was it. That was it. Yeah.
The Aberdeen goal that was disallowed was, I think, the fair decision. Our goal that was disallowed on the line was fair, but yeah, the Duke one wasn't very clear. But yeah, to me it looked like a handball. The other one, the Dyson one, will be interesting. You're right. I think because we're winning games so comfortably in the end, it's not a big talking point. But you've seen last season at Tynecastle, these kind of decisions can change a game and can be costly. When it's a tight title race. So and I think the important time to highlight these is while you're winning, because it
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't sound like sour grapes.
Yeah, I agree. Official wise for tomorrow's game, referee Kevin Clancy, assistants Frank Connor, Daniel McFarlane, we've got Andrew Dallas on VAR, and John McCrossan, assistant VAR. What's the thoughts then ahead of this game? It's going to be, first of all, it's going to be a cracker, isn't it? Are you going along?
Yep, I've managed to get tickets, so looking forward to it. Managed to get a half decent view. One of the only stand I think where you get a half decent view at Hampden, the top tier in the main stand I think it is. So yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully not as stressful as the last semi final against Aberdeen last season. That was torture. Ended up okay, but it was a real roller coaster of a game, that one. So hopefully a bit more plain sailing, but I can see it going all the way again. Aberdeen, you know what? Fair play to them. I did not expect them to pick up 4 points against Celtic and Rangers in the last couple of weeks that they have done. I watched their game against Dundee United. I didn't think much of them first half, and I was in the group chat saying, "Nah, they're not going to. This isn't going to keep going. They're going to drop points soon." They came out second half, made sure and got the winner, late goal, and then to follow up with a. I've not seen the game back, but I've seen the highlights, and by all accounts, deserved to win last night. So yeah, you know, Jimmy Tellene, you can only hold your hands up to what he's doing. He's got them believing, and I think he's got them playing a certain way, which even if it's lacking maybe in terms of quality compared to us or other teams. See if you're giving it your all and you're playing with a high energy, high intensity. You're playing with a belief, a spirit. That's half the battle in this league. And that's why they're doing well. Is they're playing to a kind of common cause, and he's got them well organised. I thought against us, you know, I thought they were lucky to obviously get the draw, but where they did well was they sensed blood at 2-1 and they pounced on it. And rarely will you see a team come to Celtic Park and come back from two down. And when they went 3-2 up, I know it got disallowed, but I was worried because I was like, wow, they've got their tails up. So they're obviously doing something right, and I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think they're going to be title challengers, but on a one-off game, they've more than proven that they can give us a right good game. So I think we're going to raise our levels as well, though. I think the fact that we managed to rest players, I think that would have irked Brendan, the two each draw, because Brendan's a big game manager, at least domestically. If you look at it throughout his tenure, big games against Rangers, big games against Aberdeen back then, he always used to produce. And I think he'll be really up for this on Saturday. I think he's going to get the players really up for it, and I think we'll see a really good Celtic performance. And I expect Aberdeen to be good as well. So I think it'll be a tight game, but I think one that we'll win.
I think if you looked at his record against Rangers and Aberdeen combined, it would be something like 2 defeats in 40. So it's an incredible record that he's got. I think it's going to be a real challenge on Saturday. I think Celtic are going to see it as a real opportunity to go out there and show that we're the best team in Scotland. I don't think there's too much debate about that, because obviously we've won our games far more convincingly than Aberdeen, but I think the team are going to really see it as an opportunity. It reminds me a bit of, remember a game we had, a semi-final at Murrayfield against Hearts a few years ago when Hearts were, I think, on an incredible winning run as well. And to be honest, I think this Aberdeen team's probably better than that Hearts team. That Hearts team kind of folded that day, and I don't see similar happening. I don't see this being a 3-0 win for us. Hope I'm wrong. But I think it'll be a real battle. The things seem to be going Aberdeen's way at the moment in games, and I think that happens for whatever reason when you're on a good run. But like if we go ahead in the game's not going to be killed off, because they clearly have real. They're a really resolute team, and we've seen that all across this season when they've been in tight games and they've faced a bit of adversity. They've kind of come out on the right side in every single game. They've managed to get positive results in every game. So I don't know, I've got a proper kind of big game feel for this one. I think the kick-off time's great, and I'm assuming Hampden's going to be absolutely sold out. I think the majority is going to be supporting Celtic, but I'm guessing Aberdeen will have, I don't know, 15,000 there, something like that. So it's going to be, and their tails are up at the moment. So you're going to have a fantastic atmosphere and a real time for this team to shine. And I think generally when it comes to these big domestic matches, they do shine. So yeah, looking forward to it and hopefully get through to another final.
I enjoy the evening kickoffs at Hampden. I know you used to be a fan as well, the 5:30 ones. I think it always brings out a good atmosphere. And you're right, you've got the two best teams in the country. The crowd, the atmosphere is going to be brilliant. Both of us going into it confident. Both teams going into it looking forward to it. When we went 2 up at Celtic Park against them, I thought that we were going to blow them away. I did see it just being a 3-4. And I think it could have been. It wasn't one of those, like, Aberdeen took that goal brilliantly, and I think from then on we just kind of self-destructed, and like I said earlier, they pounced on it. So that will give them belief that even if they go behind, it's not game over, and I think it will make us, make sure that we're on our game throughout and not get complacent. But you're right, I think there's an air of the players and management will want to kind of put that wrong right this time, because I think you're right. All the hype has been about Aberdeen, and Brendan probably wanted that day for us just to kind of shut them up a wee bit and show them who's boss. And obviously we didn't do that, and we're still level with them on points. So I think again, with all the chat and all the hype, I think it will be a great occasion. But I've just got a feeling that with our captain back, who, by the way, like, see when he's not there, you notice it. I know he sometimes gets, not criticism, but I think it does get taken for granted just how good Callum McGregor is at that role. I just think he's so imperative in the fluidity of our performances. Like I said earlier, I think Engels could be the one that also can play that role effectively, more so than further up. But I just think with McGregor back, Alistair Johnston in the form of his life, hopefully Kuhn's back, I'm really looking forward to it. You're right. I think it's going to be a great game.
Right, give us your team then, if you can do that.
Yeah, if everyone's fit, I'm going to go Kasper Schmeichel in goals. Right back, Alistair Johnson, Austin Trusty, and Carter-Vickers. I think Alex Vai will keep his place. I thought Greg Taylor looked a bit rusty yesterday. Looked like he's missed a few games. So I think Vai will come back in. And then, provided everyone's fit, I'm going to go Kuhn right side, Dyson Maeda, Kyogo. That's the easy part. And then the midfield 3. So McGregor, and then you've got 2 out of 3. It's so tough, isn't it? Because on form, I think Bernardo should be playing. Hatate gives us that creative outlet. But I just think he's going to play Engels again, which you can't argue with. So I think it'll be Callum, Engels, and Rio. And I think Bernardo playing midweek.
Okay, I think he'll do that as well. Yeah, because Bernardo is when it came to those big games. Remember the Hearts game and the Bratislava game? It was Bernardo who dropped out. So I think clearly Bernardo's a great player, but I wonder if if everything is well, that's the midfield that he wants in these big games is McGregor, Engels, Hatate.
It's weird though. Bernardo was brilliant in the Champions League last season. He's really good in the derby games, and I've really been impressed with him. I think Motherwell, he wasn't at his best Motherwell away, but other than that, every time you see him, he's got dig, he can challenge, he's got really good quick technical feet. I really like him, and if you actually look at on form, he's probably is the form midfielder. Like, the thing is with all the midfielders, none of them have been outstanding, and none of them have been poor. So it's one of those where like nobody's kind of grabbed it and said, I'm definitely playing. But they've all been of a good enough level that it gives us that headache to make. But I think he'll go with Rio, Engels, and Callum.
And we should just say again, we mentioned it earlier, but we should just say that Luke McCown's cup tied for this game. So if you're screaming at your device saying, why are you not got McCown in your team? That's why. Left back, it's tough, isn't it? I'm trying to think, because he'll probably rotate that between Saturday and Tuesday. So I'm trying, if I go to Tuesday, who do I think will start? Potentially Taylor on Tuesday and Vai on Saturday, maybe.
It's a position you could do that with, because I know we mentioned the consistency of your back back centre backs. Generally, a back four, you kind of want to be consistent game for your big games. But I think the way those two play, I think he could probably get away with one each, one game, one of them this weekend and one of them for Leipzig.
But Johnson plays both of the games, so it's an interesting dynamic. Anything else, Asim, ahead of the game?
No, just looking forward to it. It's such an exciting time, isn't it? Like, I know there's an international break again. It feels like they're just never ending, but thankfully this is the last of them coming up in November. Aye. So, this time next week we could be in a final, 9 points clear of our Glasgow rivals, and 1 foot in the last 24 of the, in the group phase of the Champions League, because that's the way we should be looking at that game right now. A point's probably good in that game. I know you'll be doing the preview before that, but it's just such an exciting time right now to be a Celtic fan. So many big games coming up, but one game at a time. Cliche, obviously. This Aberdeen one's huge, and it's not one that we can take lightly. It's going to be a monumental challenge, but looking forward to it.
Great stuff, Asim. Thank you once again for coming on. I enjoyed the chat there. There's always stuff happening, and enjoy the game on Saturday as well. Hopefully things go well. Right, okay, we'll head off now. Thanks everyone. Please subscribe. You can do it right now. Just click or tap that wee button in the middle of the screen if you've not already done it, as we go for 11,000 subscribers. It's taken a while, but we'll get there eventually. Bye everyone.